Hello everyone and welcome to the fourth episode of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links free-to-play adventure series. Today, since we have an ongoing Casey Cup, I will be going over 5 of the best decks that you can use in order to have success in either the first or the second stage of the cup. I want to make clear from the start, they are not the only decks you can use or the best 5 decks in the whole game, but I think they can have success for reasons I will give out later when we see each and every deck. Also, if your deck did not make it in the top 5, that doesn't mean it's horrible and you need to stop playing it, start playing something from the list. You can still have success with other stuff since we are at a pretty diverse meta right now. Don't hate me for not putting your deck on the list, I will give all my reasons in a minute when we see all the decks. So, let's start from number 5. At number 5, I have Fair Hires, believe it or not. The deck is not dead and can still do some damage, so many people have access to it and they don't use it just because they think it's dead. I believe it can do good, especially in the first stage of the Casey Cup. It has a different way to be played now, since so many of the cards it used to run are on the ban list. Now you need to play more back row, preferably cards that can either help Recon activate his effect, like Canadian Floodgate, or destroy monsters, like Widespread Ruin can. The deck makes the list because it's pretty easy to use and can have good matchups against heroes, vampires and especially spellbooks. Although Blue Eyes White Dragon is not the best matchup you can have just because of its high attack monsters. Dinah can only reach 2800 attack and that is with 3 monsters on the field and tie that binds, so you cannot run over a regular Blue Eyes. In that situation, you're gonna need your back row. Let's go over the main cards though, because you probably hate me for suggesting Fair Hires. So Beat, Recon and Strategist are for sure at 3, as well as Dinah at 1. Now depending on what you face, you might change how many Wiz Dampa, Treacherous Trap Hole and Enemy Controller you run, since they are all semi-limited. I prefer 1 Wiz and 1 Dampa, but I can totally see why it's better to go 2 Wiz sometimes, since you can run other monster distraction cards like Widespread Ruin. I can also see if you want to play 1 Wiz, 1 Enemy Controller, just because Econ is so versatile and can help in a lot of situations, but I wouldn't really advise you to play Treacherous Trap Hole. Some people really love it though, so they might make room for it. Also a must-have in the deck are Mayhem, Canadia and Floodgate. Without any Canadia or Floodgate, I probably would not suggest you to play the deck. They are just so helpful. If an opponent plays a monster, you either Floodgate or Canadia that monster, and then with Recon's effect, next turn you can just destroy it. Other cards you can use are Sphere Kuribo, Wall of Disruption, Drowning Mirror Force, Cosmic and Galaxy Cyclone. The best skill for the deck is by far the Tie That Binds, and as you can see, the example deck on the left is the deck I managed to reach King of Games with last season and qualify for the second stage of the Casey Cup. It really helped because I was facing a lot of random decks, and fairies do amazing against random decks and can also do good against spellbooks and heroes, which I faced a lot as well. I think it can work. I'm not sure though if it's gonna be the best for the second stage of the Casey Cup, just because Blue Eyes will probably be common. At number 4, yes, Bujin make the list. The addition of Crane makes the deck so much better and 100% viable. They are versatile and can do so many different stuff. They can even activate effects from the graveyard. The deck is still new, since Crane just came out like a week ago, and can catch a lot of people by surprise, which of course works in your favor. If you play them correctly, I think you can almost beat every meta deck in the game. The worst matchup seems to be Spellbooks, and Yubel along with Buster Blader can be pretty tough as well sometimes. I haven't personally used the deck, but let's give you a quick rundown of their monsters and what they do. Yamato is the main engine of the deck, helps you draw and throw monsters into the graveyard. Crane is an amazing hand trap that can even help you run over an opponent's monster after he uses Wall of Disruption on you, since it doubles your monster's original attack. Mikazuchi can be special summoned after the destruction of a Beast Warrior Bujin and also search Bujin related spell and traps from your deck. Arasuda can also be special summoned and help with drawing, discarding and has good defense as well. Quillin provides face-up card destruction from the grave, Hair offers monster protection from the grave, Centipede can destroy opponents' spell and trap cards from, you guessed it, from the grave. Sinju offers attack boost from the graveyard, and then Turtle helps with effect negation also from the graveyard. Lastly, Hirum is a 2000 attack monster that needs to be special summoned and can help you with discarding, as well as make your opponent discard when he's destroyed. The deck can be run at 20 or 30 cards, since there are so many monsters to choose from, but the 30 card version also needs to run the grass looks greener in order to get monsters into the graveyard and thin the deck as well. Personally, I haven't played them, as I said, but tend to always prefer 20 card versions. Cards that can also be used in this Bujin deck are Sphere Kuribo, which pairs up nicely as a hand trap with Crane, Canadian Treacherous Traphold as classic staples, Cosmic and Galaxy Cyclone for help with back row and especially DNA Surgery that can really cack this deck, Xing Zhang Hu, Widespread Ruin, Enemy Controller, and Bujin Regalia can also be used in a Bujin deck. The main skills for the archetype are Restart, Destiny Draw, and my monster cards, since you can run so many different monsters. A member of my Discord, Nasser, reached Duel level max in the first stage of the Case Cup with a similar deck to the example one on the left. It worked great for him, so it can for you too, but do not forget Bujin have so many different options that I believe it comes down to preference. He used 3 Canadia, but I cut it down to 2 just for the deck to not be super pay to win, but he said Canadia helped a ton cause it can disrupt opponent plays more often than not. Of course, we all know that Canadia is one of the best traps in the game anyways. So Bujin are gonna catch a lot of people by surprise, I think in this case Cup can do well in the first and probably even in the second stage of the cup. At number 3 on my list I have Buster Blader. Some people love this deck, others hate it because it can be inconsistent at times or just annoying to play against. I think Blue Eyes White Dragon decks will be super popular in this Case Cup. Dragon decks in general in the first stage, just because they are high attack monsters. Buster Blader completely destroys any dragon deck, you do not even need DNA Surgery against them, so you can say they pretty much solve your consistency problems. Buster Blader is a good rogue deck in this Case Cup, but because of the lack of consistency it can suffer from sometimes, and the fact that it can have a tough matchup against heroes, one of the best decks in the game, I cannot put it higher on the list. While hero decks are not the easiest matchup, they are not impossible to beat. Yes, you might struggle against a Decider sometimes, but you can also tech against them. Against other decks now, like Vampires, Bujin, Spellbooks, Gladiator Beasts, and Gearjas, Buster Blader can be great, especially if you establish a field early. With DNA Surgery and Dragon Destroyer, opponents' monster effects become useless, and these decks really struggle with that and can become helpless. That doesn't mean they're easy wins though, because you won't have an established field early every duel, and they can either destroy your fusion monster or remove your DNA Surgery from the field. Buster Blader can sometimes struggle against back row, and that is the reason you might have to either play Mindscan and play around back row, or use anti-back row cards like Xing Zhang Hu or Cosmic Cyclone. Blader can come down to preference when you're making your build, because the deck can be played with various skills. Let's go over the main cards you run first though. Buster Blader is obviously a must, along with Buster Whelp, Distraction Swordsman Fusion, Emblem of Dragon Destroyer, DNA Surgery, and a fusion substitute of your choice. Goddess with a third eye can be clutch against heroes because she can run over defense position Decider, and I believe is the best option. But you can also play the Dark Hex Shield Fusion because it gives you variety and the ability to summon Red Eye / Dragon. For the extra deck, you need Dragon Destroyer and Dark Paladin, and can also run Stardust Dragon since Whelp is a level 1 tuner monster and Buster Blader a level 7 monster. Treacherous Traphole can be super helpful by getting you out of tough situations and can't really be a dead card because 1. You are mainly running continuous traps, and 2. You can discard it in order to get your fusion spell from the graveyard. Other cards you can use are Sangan in order to draw every monster from your deck other than Buster Blader, Xing Zhang Hu and Cosmic Cyclone for back row hate, Sphere Kuribo for protection, Wizard and Karma to have some techs against the hero comeback, and even Robot to help with his 1600 attack. Obviously these are not the only cards you can play with Buster Blader, just the ones I either think can be good or thought just for this episode. Now for the skills, it kinda comes down to preference and what do you think works best for you. Mindscan can help you play around back row and allow you to know if you can overextend for lethal or if you need to play conservative. Balance, Destiny Draw and Switcheroo on the other hand can offer some additional consistency and can also synergize well with Cosmic Cyclone, while Mindscan cannot. Ojama Go can help you in situations where your opponent just doesn't summon monsters for you to attack with the Blader Fusion, and you can also synergize that with Cosmic Cyclone as well. The build on the left is a balanced build that has had success and really close to one I used to get Duel level max, which you will see in the next video. Does not mean it suits you though, so you can try something different that's just an example build. I tend to like balance more just because you can kinda dictate some card types in your open hand, and unlike Mindscan, you cannot lose it if you get under 3000 life points. At number 2, we have Vampires. Out of all of the decks on the list, this one has the most standard build since there is not a lot of room for techs. They lost consistency after the Cyber style nerf, but they remain tier 1, so I don't think I need to explain the matchups that much. They can beat everything and have the potential to make great OTK plays. Other top tier decks like Heroes, Spellbooks and Blue Eyes White Dragon can make things tough for Vampires, and vice versa though. In my opinion, all the cards on the top right pile other than Crimson are core cards and need to be played. Retainer searches vampire spells and traps, Familiar searches vampire monsters, Vamp gives the best suck to stronger monsters than her, and can be the MVP against all the top tier decks, because she can suck Blue Eyes, Anki and even Silent Magician. Grace mills the opponent's deck and helps Kingdom pop its effect. Samurai Skull and Gozuki get Familiar and Retainer in the grave. Domain is like a double summon for Vamps. Desire is underrated in my opinion and can make some sweet plays that help you finish off your opponent. Takeover is the best card for you to have set at the first turns because it helps you establish your field. And then we have Econ, because it's Econ. Other cards you can use are Scarlet Scourge, which I am becoming less and less a fan of, Cosmic Cyclone and Hate Runade, or even Jinjo to deal with back row cards, Kuribo and Widespread Ruin for protection, and same goes for Mirror Wall, which can be super helpful to take in against hero decks because of its ability to activate in the damage step where Mask Chains cannot be chained anymore. The skills you can use are Sealed Tombs, Tie That Binds, Bandit, Switcheroo and Destiny Draw, which can all be good choices. The example deck is the one I am using lately, used it to easily get Legend this season, and will most likely use it in the second stage of the KC Cup if I feel the need to. I only have one Gozuki and probably would play a second if I had one, taking out most likely Crimson. Destiny Draw is the other skill I really want to test out, but Tie That Binds really helps you get even more OTKs. And at number 1, you probably guessed it by now, we have Heroes. In my opinion, the best deck in the game after all the latest nerfs, of course a tier 1 deck that can beat all the decks for which I don't really need to explain a lot because it has been around for so long. Decider is immune to attacks from high star monsters and can recycle heroes from the grave, Drill Dark has piercing and can special summon. Another 4-star hero when normal summoned, Celestial, well, he's super annoying and gives crazy comeback potential, Vion can help with consistency, and then Mask Chains and Anki make the deck top tier. Mask Chains also has the hidden ability to be at every starting hand ever, which is great for us that don't use heroes. For the rest of the cards other than Destiny Draw and Malicious, we can just say they are some of the best staples in the game. Canadia, Drowning Mirror Force, Xing Zhang Hu, Galaxy Cyclone, Treacherous Trap Hole, Wall of Disruption, Mirror Wall, Widespread Ruin and Enemy Controller. The only card that deserves a comment, in my opinion, is Forbidden Chalice, which can make Anki even better by allowing him to attack directly for a full 2800 and not just half his attack. Also, Chalice is activatable in the damage step, which is amazing for heroes. The usable skills for the deck are Balance, Destiny Calling and maybe even Sealed Tombs, with Balance being by far the best one. The example deck is a pretty standard heroes deck. Once again, you can adjust the back row to what you like or have at your disposal. Probably the most expensive deck on the list, but I couldn't leave it out just because I think it is the best in the game. So that is my top 5 list that contains some of the best decks to use in this KC Cup. Once again, it's my opinion and these are not the only decks that you can use, neither they are the decks that you immediately need to spend all your gems on. Maybe Vamps and Heroes are because they're top tier. Honorable mention goes to Spellbooks and Blue Eyes White Dragon, but I did not include them because they are not even close to being free to play decks since you need to buy the available EX decks. Now leave in the comments any questions you might have and also what do you think about my list and what deck are you currently using in the KC Cup. Leave a like if you enjoyed, I would really appreciate it because I worked super hard on this list. Subscribe to the channel and join my Discord, link in the description, for more Casey Cup talk. Thank you so much for watching and best of luck in the Casey Cup. See you in the next one.